What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? We are back with another episode of Quality Time with Uncle Drew. And I hope everybody out there has been doing well. Hope you've been doing great. Just wanted to stop by and give everybody this episode. And now we are a couple days into the NFL Combine. And the NFL Combine is when there are players, the majority of the top level college players all descending on Indianapolis to do things like meet with teams, run 40s, do position drills, bench press, you name it, they're doing it for a chance to live out one of their childhood dreams and change a lot of lives for these young men and their families with the money that they can possibly get. And I thought it was funny because I had a client that asked me the other day and they said, Drew, do you watch the combine, right? And I'm like, nah, not really. And they're like, why not? Like, it's a really exciting time of the year. Like, you should really enjoy being able to watch these kids go after these young men go after what they really want and kind of come out on the other end. And I was like, yeah, all that's understandable and I agree with that, but the NFL combine is the same year after year after year. The only reason I will say the only reason I'll say that I watch the NFL Combine is if I have players or guys that I've coached participating in the Combine, and I just want to see how they do. And usually, when I watch that, it's nothing more than watching them run their 40-yard dash, or just maybe a little bit of the position drills if it's for like wide receivers and tight ends. Because catching balls from these different quarterbacks sometimes is difficult, but just seeing how they run their routes, how they finish, so very baseline level stuff. The other day, or yesterday it was actually, they had the linebackers, and one very special case that I want to talk about, a close young OG of mine, Kain Medrano, who we had at UCLA, graduate of UCLA, product of Colorado. You know how we do Colorado stand up. And Kain is a linebacker. When Kain came to us at UCLA, I want to say he was in the first or second recruiting class that we had at UCLA. And Kain came to UCLA as a wide receiver. And I want to say he played wide out. He redshirted his freshman year, if I'm correct. And I want to say he played wide receiver for maybe a year and a half, possibly 2 years max. And this is the thing about when you get to college. There's different body sizes, there are different body types, offensive schemes, defensive schemes. Sometimes players don't fit in there for their size or other things that they've been measured up to that the coaches thought they would. And I'm not 100% sure what the case was with Kain, but Kain ended up moving positions to playing linebacker. And now Kain is probably an undersized linebacker when it comes to size. Kane's probably about 6'2", 6'3" as far as height goes. But he's also, I don't want to, I guess I can look up whatever he weighs right now, but I don't want to do that. He's light for a linebacker, so I might say he's maybe around 200, maybe 220, maybe 215. I'll check and be able to update people later. But that's small for a linebacker. But what Kane has been able to do at linebacker over his years at UCLA was he was able to find out where he fits in. And I haven't, hopefully, I can have him on the show here before the draft or sometime after so we can talk about college and the NFL and leading up to the draft. But Kane did the very best he could possibly do with switching positions at the collegiate level. Now, switching positions, it is not 100% on the player, it's not 100% on the coaching staff sometimes, but sometimes there's a meeting that goes down and the coaches talk, they're always talking in their meeting rooms, especially with the younger players or based upon depth or what they have. And I want to say around that time, we were pretty deep in the wide receiver room. And I think we knew Kane had some talent, but I don't think we thought we would be able to get him on the field fast enough, or that, based upon the other people that were playing that position and came in with, that he would be fighting for playing time there. So either the coaching staff would approach a player to move or switch positions, or kind of do a heat check on what they think about switching positions. And then, I'm talking like coaching staff, that position groups, coach, the other position group that they might change to their coach, talking to the weightlifting coaches as far as how's this guy testing, how's this guy doing with the running, with the working out that we're doing downstairs. So essentially what I'm trying to say is like you may think you are one position in college or in high school, and once you get to that next level, usually not the NFL, but maybe the NFL as well, but sometimes you have to go where you're needed on the team. And what the coach telling you, like, hey, I don't think wide receiver is your position that you're going to excel at with us. We think your position is XYZ. What do you think about that move? There are some players that say no. There are some players that say, yeah, coach, whatever I can do to get on the field and play. And I'm not saying either one is wrong, but I'm saying if a coach, especially the head coach, is telling you, hey, I don't think this is a position for you, then you can't think or you can't say that, all right, well, I'm gonna prove the coach wrong, and not that you can't, let me back up. Not that you can't say you're gonna prove that coach wrong, but the coach is already telling you based upon your size or based upon their needs that it's not very likely that you'll play at this specific position that you're at right then. But the good thing is that they talk to you about a position change, so they want you to play it, or they see value in you. I would say they see value in you as a player of being able to still contribute to this team. Now, the reason that I talk about Kain is I was able to watch their games the last couple years. I'm always watching UCLA games because I think last year was kind of the final year of guys that have been or were around when I was there. Way back, I left there in at the beginning of 2022. And so anybody that knows anything knows with COVID and how everything's been, there's been college players that have been in college for 6, 7, 8, 9 years in some cases. But most of the guys that were around, have been around for 5 or 6 years at UCLA. And seeing Kane's maturation and seeing what Kane is able to do on the field after switching positions and being on defense and really taking on the identity of a linebacker, it's been very awesome to see. And those are the types of pieces of adversity that I love to see young people pulling through because it's not easy to play one position the majority of your whole life and then at the pinnacle of the sport or collegiately switch to a different position and have to be dogged in learning what exactly that position entails. And so watching Kane this past year, I was able to see him have a hell of a game tackling or intercepting the ball and running it back for a pick six against Nebraska, I think it was. He was able to have his impact on the game. Now, you talk about a guy that switched positions in college who played pretty good on defense with the defensive scheme they had, was a part of a really good defense. UCLA a couple years ago, and even last year was a very, nah, uh, UCLA a couple years ago was a very good defense. I'm talking about maybe top 10 or 15 in the nation with what they were able to do. So Kane now has got a invite to the NFL Combine, and there with I think a pretty deep class of linebackers or a pretty athletic group of linebackers. Kane was able to run the fastest 40 of all linebackers at the NFL Combine of those who ran. Now, there might be some backers who didn't run and just they're just going to run at pro day or whatever it might be. But my point is that you have this person who switched positions, did something totally different, took their skill set from wide receiver to linebacker, learned some intricacies of what that's like to play linebacker, and then in a sense went and has had a very good career at UCLA and now has a chance to play at the next level as a linebacker. And mind you, this person has also run the fastest 40 of all the linebackers that are there at the combine this year. And I think he ran a 4.46, which was the fastest, but he ran a 4.46 and a 4.48. So they'll most likely take the fastest time. But I love the stories like this. So when I talk and I mentor the younger generation and I talk to players who don't want to move positions or who are hell bent on staying in one position, I, you'll hear me preach this all the time. You'll hear me preach this a lot. Your goal should be to play your sport as long as possible. And sometimes college that means switching positions. And we've also had players when I was coaching at schools where we told players, "Hey, I don't think this is your position and what your position is going to be." And we've had some players who have left the school to go to a different school or to go to a level down where they're still able to play at that position. And so it's not the end of the world, but you have to be open to what a coach, especially your college coach, your head coach, your offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, position coach, what they really say as far as what your skill set is to play at that position for them. Yes, they recruited you at this position, but there are some things that change. Maybe you don't quite grasp the offense or the defense. Maybe upon them seeing you in practice every day, they don't think you have what it takes athletically to really shine at that position. And so it's not necessarily a slight to you, but it's one of those things where they're looking at you and they're saying, yo, if you want to get on the field and play, this is the best way you can do that. So I just wanted to tap in real quick and talk about the NFL Combine, talk about Kain Medrano, who is pretty much solidified or did really good on his stock at the Combine. And now he won't have to do as much at Pro Day. But seeing that he's a linebacker who can run and who can probably match up with some of these bigger tight ends and running backs coming out of the backfield, he's given himself a really good shot to be able to play at the next level.